Hello and welcome to Trial TV Live. I am the Squeegee of Justice. Thank you so much for joining us as we are picking up on a new trial out of Florida. This is a DP case. So this is Florida versus Jose Soto-Escalera. It is also being called as the pregnant mistress slaying trial. So thank you for joining us. I appreciate you guys coming over from wherever it is that you are coming to watch. If you're watching us live, thank you. If you're watching on replay, crew, appreciate it. We're going to do the morning session today, and then we'll pick up on the afternoon session tomorrow morning into day 2. So hopefully we will be caught up by the end of day 2 tomorrow. So today is about 2 hours. We're just going to do a morning session today, which is going to include opening statements and a couple witnesses. So let's get over here and let me just put myself over here. All right, so the backstory is the date that this happened. We have our victim, who is Tania Wise. She was 27 when this happened in 2018. So this was a while ago. This was August 19th of 2018. The defendant is Jose Soto-Escalera. He is being accused of first degree times 2 because Tania was 8 months pregnant, 8 to 8.5 months pregnant. Not 100% sure about that. I'm sure we'll hear that as the case continues or as the trial develops. But right now she was either 8 or 8.5 months pregnant. So we'll just go with she was 8 to. We'll just go with that. So the state is alleging that on August 19th, 48-year-old Jose allegedly, now I have 23-year-old, so 27. So we put this together very quickly, so some of our things might be a little off. I'll double check that. So she was, let's see, this was in Fort Pierce, Florida. Investigators discovered Weiss's body on the morning of August 24th. She was lying face down in the roadside drainage off Russo Road near Johnston Road in St. Lucie County. Now, St. Lucie County is on the southeast side of Florida. So this one hits a little closer to home for us because Aaron and I spent a lot of time in that area. So her shirt was slightly raised, her hair covered part of her face, and rigor mortis had already set in, but with no signs of decomposition, deputies concluded she had been deleted only a few hours earlier. The state says they intend to prove aggravating factors that makes the case worthy of DP, including that the crime was heinous, atrocious, or cruel, and that homicide was committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense, moral, or legal justification. So, appreciate you guys joining us. Northwest, thank you for joining us. Did I get, he was 41 at the time? So let's see, so 2018, so he's 48 now, that was 7 years ago. Okay, so I got that part right. So let's, so she was 23. Well, we'll fix that. We can fix that as we go on. We'll fix that for tomorrow. So, good to see you, Northwest. Thank you for joining us, Hell Rider. Kelia, thank you for joining us. Shore Life Creations and Dwayne also saying hello. Jojo, good to see you. And Barry, thank you guys for coming on over and joining us. TLC, what's up with Florida? I don't know. Kelia, good to see you. Real happy. Kitty Tail, yes, they're being all active behind me. All right, Red Snap and Amanda, thank you for coming in. Lily Wayne and Debbie, great to see you guys. Widespread Panic and Mary Fitz. All right, let's get to it. Got little monkeys behind me. All right. We're going to play a few little, we're going to play some clips before we actually get started. That's what we like to do here. So, let's see here. All right, give me just a moment. I've got a few news clips here lined up for you guys. Kind of get the backstory before we actually start in on the trial.
Marks 2 weeks since a young
Okay.
Marks 2 weeks since a young pregnant woman was found dead in a ditch in St. Lucie County. She was murdered, and there have been no arrests yet. The Now's Ryan Hughes is live with how her family is now putting out a desperate plea for information. Ryan?
And Alana, Tania Wise loved being a mom, and she was expecting her second child. Now, Tania's mom says the fact that she lost both of them, that pain is just unimaginable. Tania's body was found 2 weeks ago near Russo and Johnston Roads in the northwestern part of St. Lucie County. The 23-year-old was found by someone just passing by the area. Her mom says she did not have any enemies, and she can't imagine who would want to hurt her. She is now begging everyone out there, if you know something, please come forward. No detail is too small. The pain, she says, is so raw, and not knowing who did this makes it even worse.
I have no words to tell you what it feels like. To lose a child, it's just, there's no words for it. And then to lose my grandson too. There's no words for it.
Yeah, and we did check in with the sheriff's office today. They tell me they can't release too many details, but they are out every single day working this case, still following up on leads. Now, coming up at 6 o'clock, we will hear more from Tania's mom as well as her aunt and their message for her killer still walking the streets. But for now, we are live in Fort Pierce. Ryan Hughes for the Now, South Florida.
All right, so that's the first news clip. And here's a second one.
Just in, detectives in...
So this is really wild because Aaron and I used to watch WPTV all the time. So this one's really hitting close to home for us.
Just in, detectives in St. Lucie County say the body of Tania Wise was found earlier today. Her body discovered in a ditch at Johnston and Russo Roads. Detectives are asking anyone who may have been in contact with this 23-year-old in the last few days to call Treasure Coast Crime Stoppers.
All right, so confirmed she was 23 at the time, so I got to change the 27 to 23. So it is confirmed 23 at the time, so I'll change that for tomorrow. All right. Next up, another news clip giving us a little bit more background information.
Today marks 1 month since the body of a pregnant... Today marks 1 month since the body of a pregnant Treasure Coast mother was found on the side of the road. Tonight, new information into her murder, allegedly at the hands of the unborn child's father. Here's News Channel 5's John Shainman with the latest details.
23-year-old Tania Wise was found August 24th face down in a ditch in an isolated stretch of northern St. Lucie County. She suffered blunt force trauma to the back of her head and trauma to her throat. In a 22-page affidavit released late Monday, an unnamed witness tells detectives Jose Soto-Escalera had given Wise $500 for an abortion and believed Escalera was mad because that didn't happen. That same witness says when Escalera picked him up for work the morning of August 24th, he noticed a pair of black rubber gloves and black clothing on the floorboard behind the driver's seat of Escalera's pickup. The man also stopped so Escalera would wash the outside of his pickup, something this witness said Escalera had never done before. Other witnesses say Escalera had asked how he could buy an illegal firearm. 3 other witnesses came forward saying they saw a truck similar to Escalera's drive slowly down Russo Road the night before Wise's body was found. Escalera, who is married and has 4 children, denied he was involved in a sexual relationship with Wise, claiming he was fixing a car battery at someone else's home the night Wise was killed. Cell phone records show Escalera and Wise spoke 3 times between 8 and 8:30 the last night Wise was seen alive. Surveillance video shows a truck similar to Escalera's on Wise's street that night. DNA evidence confirmed Soto-Escalera was the father of Wise's baby, who was to be named Josiah Thomas. Tania Wise's family did not want to comment on the arrest today, except to say they're going through a very difficult time. In St. Lucie County, John Shainman, WPTV, News Channel 5.
All right, I have one more, and again, this is his arrest, and it's just a minute and a half. So one more, and then we'll get to the actual trial. So again, just trying to give you guys as much background as we can.
41-year-old Jose.
All right, so he was 41 at the time he was arrested.
Jose Soto-Escalera had been under surveillance at his Port St. Lucie home. The St. Lucie County Sheriff says he was suspicious of him and his possible involvement in the murder.
Today, the final piece of this very complex puzzle has been put in place.
23-year-old Tania Wise was 8.5 months pregnant with her second child, Tobias Joseph. Her mom last saw her alive at night on Thursday, August 23rd, leaving the house. She was scheduled for a C-section a week later.
To lose a child, it's just, there's no words for it. And then to lose my grandson too, there's no words for it.
The next day, they were found dead in a ditch in northern St. Lucie County. DNA evidence would reveal Soto-Escalera, who was married to a different woman, is the baby's father. His wife had no idea he had another baby on the way.
We know that she had some other individuals in her life, men in her life. We don't know if jealousy was a motive.
The investigation determined he called Tania the day she was murdered. His truck was placed at the crime scene.
That's one of the things that struck me. He was not remorseful.
28 days later, the sheriff says the surveillance team saw him leave his house in his wife's car. Fearful he might be headed to Martin County, they moved in.
We did not want him to leave the county.
He was arrested, facing 2 charges of first-degree murder.
I know this person will be caught. Just one justice done.
Wow, so we learned a lot there. 8.5 months pregnant. She was scheduled for a C-section like a week later. So that's pretty intense. All right, real happy. Thank you for joining us. Why would she be with him, Nomad? I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Hey, Denisha, good to see you. Thank you. And Nan R, good to see you. All right, let's get to opening statements and then into the first couple witnesses. So we're just going to do morning session right now, you guys, just so you know.
Ready for me to bring purposes. And you're all ready for me to bring in the jurors so we can start with the opening statements?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's bring in the jury. I'll give them some instructions and we'll start with the opening statements. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I hope you had a wonderful extended weekend. Before we begin with the opening statements, I want to remind you of some of the instructions I gave you Thursday afternoon, the high points. Something first, most importantly, that I've repeated multiple times, the most important element of a fair trial is that the jury base its decision only on the evidence presented officially in the trial. Therefore, as you know, don't talk to anyone about the case, including your fellow jurors. Don't do any research about the case by any form whatsoever, electronic or otherwise, and avoid all media coverage of the case. Remember also a rule that I told you about, which is as the trial progresses, don't form any definite or fixed opinion about the merits of the case until you've heard all of the evidence, the arguments by the lawyers, and the instructions on the law from me. With regard to note-taking, you've been provided with a pen and pad to take notes should you wish. You're not required to take notes. Please remember, during the breaks, when I send you back into the jury room, leave your notepad on your chair, and it will be there for you when you come back into the room, into the courtroom, and that also follows for the every day of court session. Of course, during deliberations, you'll be entitled to take your notes back with you to assist you during deliberations. We're about to begin with the opening statement. If you recall, on Thursday, I advised you of the importance of the opening statement. If you recall what I told you, what the lawyers say to you at this time is not evidence. This is not part of the evidentiary portion of the trial, but it's very important. The way I like to explain it to you is, if you could imagine, if we didn't do opening statements, we would just start with the state calling witnesses, and you would have no idea what this case is about. We have an adversarial system. Each side opposes the other, and there are things on both sides that they think are important. So it gives them an opportunity to prepare you for the evidentiary portion of the trial. It gives them an opportunity to tell you what evidence they think will be presented once we start hearing the evidence. And that's a huge advantage. Rather than you going into the trial cold with no idea what the case is about, now you will be able to have advance notice of what they believe you should be paying close attention to, and that will give you a tremendous advantage in all regards, but in particular at the end of the case when you hear their arguments reflecting on what the evidence was. With that, though, remember what they say is not evidence in that regard. And we start off with the state has the burden of proof, and they may begin with their opening statement. Mr. Cormier.
I have to do it, Eric. I have no other choice. I'm going to lose everything. If my wife finds out something like that, oh my God, bro, I'm going to lose everything. Bro, I have a spot. I have to find a spot where I'm going to dump her. I'll throw away all the clothes, or I'll burn them, or I'll wash them with Clorox. Those are the words from the defendant in this case on August 21st, 2018. The evidence will show you that Jose Soto-Escalera, the defendant in this case, he had a problem. He had a big problem, and he needed to find a way to get rid of it. He had no other choice in his eyes. And that problem that he had was the victim in this case, Tania Wise. On August 21st, Tania Wise was a mom. She was 38 weeks pregnant, and she had no idea that this defendant was carefully planning out her murder. You're going to learn that the defendant in this case, he worked for Waste Pro. He was a garbage truck driver, and he worked with his nephew on the garbage truck. And the reason we're going to know and hear how he planned out this murder is because he did it on the garbage truck while they're driving around, picking up trash, doing his route. But what the defendant didn't plan on is that it's all recorded. There's video, there's audio, and even though they talked in Spanish, everything is going to be translated in this case, and you're going to hear the defendant as he drives around on his trash route trying to figure out where he's going to get rid of her body, where he's going to leave 38-week pregnant Tania Wise for dead, how he's going to kill her. Let's go 2 days later. That was August 21st, 2018. Let's go to August 23rd. That's the date of the murder in this case. And it's a normal day for Jose. He's driving in his garbage truck and he's planning out a murder. He cannot let his wife know that he got another woman pregnant who's now 38 weeks. He's running out of time. She's getting ready to schedule a C-section. She's going to have this baby, and he cannot let that find out because he's going to lose everything. That's all he cares about. What's going to happen to him? Not that he's going to kill a 38-week-year-old pregnant mother. That doesn't concern him at all. And he's talking casually in this car to his nephew. You think I should choke her? Or would it be better if I just do a big blow and it's all over with really quick? And then he tells him, you know what? She's not the type of person that anyone's even going to look for. They're not even going to look for her. They're not going to worry about her. And you know what? If they don't find anything within the first 48 hours, they're never going to find anything. Well, despite the defendant's planning and discussion over and over again of where he's going to do it, which way he should do it, how he's going to commit this murder, he made some mistakes. And on August 23rd, you're going to hear from the victim in this case, Tania Wise. You're going to hear from her mother, Elizabeth Bedoya. She is helping Tania put her son to bed that night, and then Tania leaves the house. The last time she sees her daughter alive is sometime after 8 o'clock on August 23rd, 2018. She doesn't know exactly where her daughter's going. She thinks she's just going out for a little bit. Tania didn't have a car. She didn't have a way to go anywhere, and you'll learn through the recordings that the defendant, part of his plan was to lure her out, to get her out of the house, and then to take her somewhere to murder her. So that's August 23rd. That's the night of the murder. And you're going to learn the defendant, he goes, he picks her up, and then he takes her out to complete his plan. So fast forward to the next morning. It's August 24th, 2018. Tania Wise has been murdered. Christine Gabin is driving in St. Lucie County. The site of this murder is it's on a road called Russo Road. It's just north of Indrio. It's a little bit west of town. There's an intersection between Russo Road and Johnston Road. And it just so happens that this route is along the defendant's trash route. It's a spot that he passes, that he drives on his garbage truck route. But Christine Gabin, she's driving down that road that day, and on the side of Russo Road, she sees what she thinks is trash in a ditch, in the swale, on the side of the road. But when she looks closer, she realizes it's not trash. It's Tania Wise. So immediately she sees a body on the side of the road and she calls 911. St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office is going to respond out to the scene. One of the first officers, Deputy Gilkey, he gets there and he takes some photos of Tania as she is found the way that she is initially. You're going to hear that crime scene investigators, there's 3 different crime scene investigators that worked on this case. Donna Carmichael, Kayla Lim, and Janine Vasquez at the time, now Janine Hiller. They go out to the scene because now there's a dead body and they need to figure out what happened. So they go and they look at the body. Tania Wise is face down in the swale on the side of the road. There's still some water. She's wet, she's damp. They see some hair, loose hair around the area where her body's found, and she is completely face down. They turn her over. They can see that she has some injuries to both her head and to her neck, and that there is what appears to be vomit within the swale of where her face was laying down. They collect all the evidence at the scene. They document all the evidence at the scene. They take photographs, and Tania Wise is brought to the medical examiner's office to have an autopsy performed. So now we're on August 24th. She's been found. She's brought to the medical examiner's office, and the defendant is there, riding in his garbage truck again, as if nothing happened. And he's talking to his nephew again about what happened. And he's telling him, he says, yeah, I washed even though I had gloves on, I washed my hands with that brake cleaner. His nephew asked him, did you see, was there any blood? And he said, yeah, there's blood. It was all over the clothes, but I got rid of it. They're not going to find any evidence. And once again, he's talking in this truck. He doesn't know that she's been found at this point yet, but he's saying, no one's even going to look for her. She's the kind of person that runs away for a few days. I'm fine. He thinks he's in the clear. No one's gonna find him. So that's August 24th. And what's gonna happen is now law enforcement's going to start to work the case. They are going to figure out who knew her, how did they know her, when's the last time people saw Tania Wise, because they need to start gathering evidence. They need to figure out who she was with, who she saw, what could have happened to her. And they start to bring in people for interviews the next day on the 25th. And what also happens the next day on the 25th is her autopsy. And what you're gonna learn what happened to Tania Wise is that she suffered 2 major injuries that could have caused her death. She was struck, and you're gonna hear from Linda O'Neill, the medical examiner at the time, she was struck on the top of her head. And she suffered skull fractures, she suffered hematoma, edema, and that the cracks in her skull came all the way up to her orbital bones. Linda O'Neill will tell you that that was a significant blow that she took and that it couldn't have been done with a fist. That it had to be done with some type of extremely hard object. The other injury that you're going to hear that Tania Wise sustained was a 19-centimeter cut across her neck. It comes from the front to the back, consistent with it, someone possibly standing behind her, and there's multiple cuts. There's 2 separate cuts, and the cuts were so deep it went through her jugular vein and almost to her spinal cord. And you're going to see photographs of that. And the reason those cuts are so deep and she's hitting the head so hard is because this defendant had to make sure she was gone. He planned it out, and he was worried that he was going to get found out. He thought he was going to lose everything. And his solution was to kill Tania Wise and Josiah Wise, which was going to be the 38-week-old baby that she had that was getting ready to be born within the next couple of weeks. You're going to hear that the sheriff's office continued to work on this case. They gathered evidence, and they eventually talked to the defendant in this case. He goes into the sheriff's office on August 25th, 2018 for an interview. And when he comes in, he drives in a silverish gray Dodge truck. Now what you're going to learn about this truck is that same day of the finding of the body or the same day of the murder on August 23rd, there's another individual by the name of William Mullen. William Mullen owned a pizza shop at the time, and he was driving on Russo Road in that area at about 11:30 at night. And he sees something that's odd to him. As he's driving down the road, he sees a silverish truck, meets the description of the defendant's truck. It has some fog lights on, and it's just sitting on the side of the road. He says he sees the truck, he pulls up, it turns its lights off, it turns its lights on, and then it drives off. And he thought that was kind of weird. So the next day, when he sees law enforcement there, he goes and calls 911 and says, hey, I saw this truck out right there where that body was found last night. And just so happens that the day that this defendant comes in to give an interview, he's driving a truck that matches that description, consistent with the truck that's seen right at the murder scene. Another piece of evidence that the sheriff's office says, you know what, it's starting to look like it's Jose Soto-Escalera. So he gives consent to search his car. Law enforcement, they swab his car that particular day, and then they talk to him. And when they talk to the defendant, you're going to hear his interview, you're going to listen to his words, and you can watch him. He comes in as if, despite what he just did, despite after cutting her throat twice and bashing in her head, he's surprised. He's sad. I can't believe this happened. I feel bad for her family. I hope you find who did this. I don't know anything about it. He minimizes his relationship with Tania Wise. He's like, yeah, I know her. We're not friends. She comes over. Her son plays with my son. They start to ask more questions. She was pregnant. Is there any reason that we're going to find out this is your child? Are we going to learn that this baby is yours? Nope. Not my child. That's not possible. I've never had sex with Tania Wise. That's not me. So obviously, law enforcement, there's a medical examiner, they're going to do a paternity test of this baby that Tania had. And they're going to look into that. But what they're also going to look at is they're going to start to look at phone records. They're going to look at calls. They're going to do search warrants. And that's exactly what is done in this case. After the 25th, they do a search warrant subsequent on the defendant's vehicle again on September 24th of 2018. And at that time, they use something, and it's called Blue Star, and it's a chemical that they spray inside of his truck. And if there's blood inside, it lights up blue in the dark. So they spray that, and sure enough, they look inside of his truck, and there's parts that are glowing. Evidence that there was blood in his truck. So what do? They cut out the carpet where they see some of that blood. They swab that, and they send that off also for DNA testing. So what you're going to hear about the DNA evidence in this case is that they took a lot of swabs and they tested a lot of stuff. But there's a couple things that are extremely important. And one of those is that they checked multiple people to see who could be the father of that child, and 99.99%, it's the defendant. So not only did he kill Tania Wise, he killed his own son that she was 38 weeks pregnant with, because he didn't want his wife to find out that he had been with someone else. He cut her throat and bashed her head in, knowing that possibly it was his child, but he did it anyways. Because he had planned it out, and he said, I have to do it, Eric. I have no other choice. You're going to hear some additional evidence that even though that evening he's going to tell law enforcement what he did and where he went, and the cell phone evidence that's going to introduce in this case, the cell phone tower evidence, it's going to show that's not correct. That's not where he was. The evidence is going to put him out at the scene of the crime. It's going to put him near that area where this crime occurred out on Russo Road. So throughout the trial, listen to the evidence, use your common sense. But when you go back and you listen and you watch and you hear what is said on these recordings, and you consider what the facts are, that the fact that this was his child and that he lied about it and that he hid it and that he then planned this murder for multiple days and then he carried it out, at the end of this trial, you're going to find the defendant guilty of both first-degree murder of Tania Wise and first-degree murder of an unborn child, because that's what the evidence is going to show. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cormier. Does the defense wish to make an opening statement at this time, Ms.
Yes,
May?
ma'am. Thank you.
Please do. Thank you.
Unfortunately, the profession that Miss Wise was in, a dancer and an escort, brought her into contact with many unsavory characters. And what you will learn in the days following the discovery of her body, law enforcement got DNA samples from many men, not just my client. They got a DNA sample from a gentleman by the name of Mark Burke, who she was involved with and was her longtime paramour and pimp. They got DNA from a person named Bradley Rodriguez Jr., who was also her longtime boyfriend, who had been kicked out of her mom's house because he was violent with Tania in front of her mother. They got DNA from a gentleman named Eric Alvarado, who is my client's nephew. And they got DNA from a person by the name of Giovanni Alvarado, who dropped Tania off on the night that she was murdered. You will also learn that Miss Wise had told Bradley Rodriguez Jr. that he was the father of her son. And you will learn that she also told Mark Burke that he was the father of her son. It was in this fraught situation that her untimely demise occurred. And the judge is going to tell you, when we talked about it during jury selection, that reasonable doubt can come from the evidence, lack of evidence, and conflicts in the evidence. I'd ask that you use a discerning ear and eye during the course of this trial and listen to not only the evidence that you see and hear, but the evidence that you won't see and that you won't hear. And I have no doubt that at the close of the evidence, you'll have no other alternative but to find my client not guilty of both charges. Thank you.
Thank you, attorneys. We now begin with the evidentiary portion of the trial, and the state may call its first witness.
Yes, sir. People say for it called Christine Gabin. Go forward, raise your right hand and face the court.
Do you swear or affirm that evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Go head over this way for the witness.
And you may inquire of the witness.
Yes, sir. Morning.
Morning.
Can you state your name for the record and spell your last name, please?
Christine Gabin, Gaban.
Okay, Ms. Gabin, have you lived here in Fort Pierce all your life?
Since I was 7 years old.
Okay. And let me take you back to August 24th of 2018. Do you remember what you were doing that day?
I left my house and in Spanish Lakes Fairways, went to Johnston Road and was going to take a shortcut to my granddaughter's and went down Russo Road.
Okay. And you go down, and where did your granddaughter live?
She lives over all the other side of Emil Avenue.
Okay. And you left your home and you were going to your granddaughter's house?
Yes.
Okay. And you said you took a shortcut and you got on Russo's Road?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And describe in as much detail as possible what happened and what you saw on August 24th of 2018.
Started down Russo and I was looking out my windows and there was like somebody had thrown bags of trash out the window, and so I got to the end of the road where Rusacas crosses and I stopped and I thought, oh, wait a minute, that's not what I saw. And I stopped and got my bearings again and I thought, I think that was something more than just a bag laying there. So I turned around and I went back and saw that it was a body laying there. So I stopped and called 911.
Okay. And do you remember what time you called 911?
About 10:50.
Okay. And how do you remember that time?
I was very shocked, very upset, so I just sat there and waited for him to arrive.
Okay. And when you called 911, did you take a look at the timestamp on your phone?
Yes, I think it was like 10:54, something like that.
Okay. And the police officers arrived?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Without telling us what you said, because that would be inadmissible hearsay, but did you tell the police officer what you saw?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Gabin, thank you very much. I have no further questions.
Cross-examination.
No cross-search, thank you.
May this witness be released from her subpoena?
She may.
Any objection?
No objection.
Thank you, Ms. Gavin. You're released from your subpoena. That means you're free to stay or leave as you wish. You may step down to the witness stand. And the state's next witness or item of evidence.
Yes, sir. The people of the state of Florida called Deputy Josh Gilkey.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Over that way to the witness stand.
Morning.
Morning, sir.
Can you state your name for the record and spell your last name, please?
Deputy Joshua Gilkey, Gilkey.
Okay. And it's obvious based on your dress, but what do you do for a living?
Road Patrol Deputy in St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. Go ahead and give the jury a thumbnail sketch of your education, your training, and your experience, please.
I have an associate's degree in criminal justice. I've attended the Basic Academy for law enforcement. I'm a traffic homicide investigator. and I've worked for St. Louis County Sheriff's Office for about 8 years now.
Okay. And were you working back on August 24th of 2018?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In what capacity were you working? What was your assignment?
Road patrol deputy.
Okay. And go ahead and just give the jury a brief summary of what a road patrol deputy does on a day-to-day basis.
Road patrol deputy typically responds to calls for service. So you call 911, and if it's within that area that I'm working, I will respond to that call. I also do routine traffic stops as well.
Okay. And on August 24th of 2018, were you on duty?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and describe for the jury how you were dressed.
We had a different uniform back then. It was like the other deputies in this room, polyester uniform. So I was dressed in that uniform.
Okay, and were you in a marked unit?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and did you receive a call or to respond to the area of Russo's Road and Johnston Road in St. Lucie County?
I heard my zone partner, he got dispatched to the call. I just happened to be a little bit closer, so I arrived on scene first.
Okay, about how far, just give the jury an idea, about how far away is that area from Indiana Road?
So it's approximately about a mile and a half.
Okay, and so you get dispatched and walk the jury in as much detail as possible what you see. You are the eyes to this jury, so walk them through what you see.
So whenever I first arrived on scene, I saw the caller in a black car, made contact with her. I believe her name was Christine Gabin. And she informed me that she had saw what could possibly be a deceased body down the road approximately 50 feet away from us to the east on the south side of the roadway.
Okay, and did you approach that body?
Yes.
Okay, tell the jury what you saw.
I saw what appeared to be a female body, and she appeared to be deceased at that time.
Okay, and what did you do in response?
I immediately determined that this was going to be an active crime scene due to there being a deceased female on the side of the roadway. Rescue was there with me as well. Nobody went up and touched the body or anything like that.
Did you touch the body?
No, sir.
Okay. I want to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibits 116 and 117 for identification purposes. Take a look at those and tell me if you recognize those.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What are those photos? What do they depict?
Those are photos of the deceased female laying face down.
Okay. And are those photos of the deceased female as they appear on August 24th of 2018?
Yes.
Okay. And what time did you arrive on scene?
I believe it was approximately 11 a.m.
11 a.m. Okay. And are these photos fair and accurate representations of how the deceased female looked on August 24th of 2018?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, the state moves into evidence Exhibits 116 and 117.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
These two items will come into evidence without objection at this time. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, let me remind you of something I told you on Thursday, since it's been 3 days in between. The items that officially come into evidence by my pronouncement take on a different significance. They're the actual evidence in the case. They will go back with you into the jury room during deliberations. There may be other items that are used during the trial that do not officially come into evidence, such as items used to refresh a witness's memory or a demonstrative aid here in court. That's not the actual evidence, will not go back with you into the jury room.
Also, now that an item is officially in evidence, it may be shown to you or published to you by either of the attorneys. And you may proceed, Mr. Richardson.
And permission to publish, sir.
You may do so.
Okay. Okay. So as we're looking here at Exhibit 116, go ahead and describe for the jury and also for the record what we're looking at.
That is what I saw whenever I first arrived on scene and made contact with the body.
Okay. And Exhibit 117?
It's another angle.
Same body?
Yes, sir.
And both of these depict the victim on August 24th of 2018?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And from that point forward, you're a road deputy, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then did you then notify detectives within the homicide division of the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office?
I notified my supervisor, and supervisor makes the notifications from there.
Okay, so from that point forward, this was not your case. More homicide detectives came in and they began their investigation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Deputy Gilkey. I have no further questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Just very briefly, sir, that area that you found the body in, that wasn't a wooded area, correct?
It's partially wooded. Just depends on where, but that's what I did.
Okay. Do you remember taking a deposition in this case?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember stating in the deposition when you asked if the area was wooded, you said, I wouldn't describe it as wooded?
Right.
Okay. No further questions?
Any further questions from the state?
No redirect.
May Deputy Gilkey be released from the subpoena?
Yes, sir.
Any objection?
No objection.
Thank you, Deputy. You're released from your subpoena. You're free to stay or leave as you wish.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the state's next witness or item of evidence.
William Mullen.
Please swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Morning.
Morning.
If you could, please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
William Drew Mullen III, Mullan.
And what do you do for a living?
Self-employed.
All right. And back in 2018, did you own a business?
Yes.
Okay. And what business did you own?
There's a pizza restaurant in Vero Beach.
Okay. And during that time, would you ever have to travel along Russo Road in St. Lucie County?
Yes.
Okay. Why would you travel along that road?
It was just a cut through from my house to get to Vero, so like a back road, stay away from traffic, that kind of stuff.
So what I want to do is I want to go back to August 23rd of 2018. Do you remember that day?
Yes.
Okay. Was there something that occurred that led you to reach out to law enforcement?
Yes. That was the, are you talking about this is the day, during the day, right?
Or during the nighttime?
During the nighttime.
Is there something that you saw that on an evening along Russo Road?
Yes.
Okay. What is it that you saw as you were? Well, first off, were you driving at night on August 23rd?
Yeah, at night. Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And where were you going?
I was going back home from the pizza place. So I was pulling onto Russo Road, and usually there's nobody on that road at that time of night, and just so happened to be a truck sitting there. So.
All right. Now, before I ask you some questions about the truck, approximately what time of night is this?
This was between 11 and 11:30.
And if you could describe for the jury, you're turning down Russo Road.
Yes.
Describe for them what you see. If there is a vehicle, describe the vehicle. What do you see it doing?
Yeah. So as soon as I turned on the road, it was dark, and then all of a sudden, lights popped on. So it was probably about 150 yards down the road. So I thought that was very suspicious. So I started coming towards the vehicle, and that vehicle started coming towards me. I noticed it was a truck, and it was kind of creeping towards me. It was a silver or gray truck, like a big truck, like a full-size truck, and it was like a clean truck. I noticed it had like shiny, like kind of chrome, like rims and pieces on the truck and whatnot. And then I just passed by the truck. So dark tint windows.
And you described something happening with the lights when you saw the truck?
Yeah, as soon as I pulled on the road, it was like the fog lights had popped on right away. So, which I thought was suspicious because instead of turning on all your lights, it was like fog lights. I feel like a lower light, you know, so.
And that's my next question. So you described it as fog lights. Where would those lights be on the truck that you saw?
More down towards the bottom. So that's why I thought was suspicious. You know, it wasn't like your normal headlight that popped on. It was like a light, two lights that were on the bottom, so.
And as you approached the truck, what did it do?
Immediately started, you know, I could tell it just started like kind of creeping towards me. So as I was going east from Johnson Road, it started coming west towards Johnson Road.
All right, and then where did that truck end up going?
Since it was kind of weird, I was watching it in my rearview mirror. It stopped at the stop sign, and then it took a right, which would be north on Johnson Road.
And did you do anything in response at this time?
No, I mean, I just kept going and went home that night, you know, like normal, so.
So you didn't contact law enforcement?
Not that night, no.
All right, what caused you to end up to reaching out to law enforcement?
Well, this was my everyday route. So the next day when I was coming down that road, I noticed they had it blocked off. And I was coming west towards, I was on 27th Ave. I'm from Vero, so I call it 27th Ave. So then I went down to Indrio, went down, you know, then went west, got on Johnson Road, started going towards Vero, and then when I came up on Russo Road, I noticed that there was police officers parked there, and I had saw a tent set up right where I saw that truck. So I figured maybe I should stop and at least tell them what I saw the night before in case it had something to do with it. So.
And is that what you ended up doing?
Yes. I immediately pulled over on the side of the road and spoke with the detective.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen. I don't have any other questions.
Cross-examination?
No cross-section.
Need Mr. Mullen be released from his subpoena this time?
Yes, sir, you may.
Any objection?
No objection.
Mr. Mullen, you are released from your subpoena. You're free to stay or leave as you wish. Thank you. And the state's next witness or item of evidence.
Yes, sir. The state calls Elizabeth Bedoya.
Elizabeth Bedoya. Ma'am, if you can raise your right hand and face the clerk.
Please swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Morning, ma'am. Can you state your name for the record and spell your last name, please?
My name is Elizabeth Bedoya. Last name.
Scoot up to the microphone, maybe we could angle it so it amplifies her voice. There you go. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Elizabeth Bedoya. Bedolla.
Okay. And did you know a female by the name of Tania Wise?
Yes, she's my daughter.
Okay. She's your daughter. Okay. I want you to go ahead and describe Tania for us. So first, way back on August 23rd of 2018, how old was Tania?
She was 23.
I'm sorry?
She was 23.
Okay. And did she have children?
Yes. At home, she had an 8-year-old, Jamar, and she was pregnant.
Okay. How far along was she in her pregnancy?
She was about 8.5 months.
Okay. And had Tania decided on the name of the baby?
She decided that on the baby shower. It's Josiah Thomas Wise.
Okay. A boy?
A boy.
Okay. And did she live with you on August 23rd of 2018?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where did you guys live? What was the address?
2014 Southwest Larchmont Lane in Port St. Lucie.
Okay. Is that located near Bayshore Boulevard?
Yes.
Okay. And is there like a is there a Winn-Dixie close to that area?
Yeah, if you continue the road, it's 2 blocks down. There's a Winn-Dixie.
Okay. Do you remember her phone number?
I believe so. It's 772-607.
Okay. And did you pay for her phone, or did somebody else pay for it?
Bradley paid for it.
And what's Bradley's name?
Bradley, I think it's Rodriguez. I'm not sure if Rodriguez or Hernandez, one of the two.
Bradley Rodriguez?
Uh-huh.
Bradley Rodriguez Jr.?
Yes.
Okay. So let me go back, and I want to focus you in on the events of August 23rd, 2018 in the evening time. Do you remember that time?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. What were you doing around 8 in the evening on that day in your house?
Me and my daughter, Tania, we had given her son a bath because he was going to school. So we gave him a bath around that time always. And I was going to get him dressed. She was going to go out. She needed to get drinks because he didn't have no drinks for lunch the next day.
Okay. And did she, about what time did she leave?
It's probably around anywhere between a little bit after 8. I mean, I said a little bit. I mean, I didn't exactly look at the clock, but I know it was a little bit after 8. Could have been 8:15, 8:20. It was around that time.
Okay. Okay. And when she left, where was she going again? I couldn't quite hear you. I'm sorry.
She was going to go get drinks for her son for school for his lunch.
Okay.
That's the purpose she left the house, because she had problems walking and everything because of her pregnancy. So she left just to get the drinks.
Okay. And was that the last time you ever saw your daughter Tania?
Yeah, by the door. Yes.
Okay. And are you aware if Tania had a follow-up doctor's appointment the following week?
Yes, it was a Tuesday for her C-section. They were going to schedule her C-section.
Okay. On the next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a scheduling appointment for her C-section.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Any questions from the defense?
Ma'am, prior to your daughter's murder, you were aware that she was dating Bradley Rodriguez Jr., correct?
Yeah, they kind of had some type of relationship.
Because he actually lived with you in your house, is that right?
For a short period of time.
Okay, and in March of 2013, you had actually kicked him out of your house, right?
Correct.
And that's because he got violent with Tania?
I didn't like the way he treated her, yes.
Okay, but he laid hands on her in front of you?
I don't recall seeing him hitting her at all, but I just didn't like the way he treated my daughter.
You were also aware that she was dating another gentleman by the name of Mark Burke?
Objection. Relevance.
Overruling objection. You may answer the question.
She was dating him. Like she separated from Mark. They kept a friendship and she dated Mark.
Were you aware that Mr. Bradley Rodriguez Jr. would threaten Tania?
Objection. Relevance and exceeds the scope of direct examination.
I'm concerned about, no, I'll overrule the objection. You can answer the question.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Were you aware that Mr. Bradley Rodriguez Jr. had been threatening Tania?
At one point she had mentioned it to me.
Did you believe that Bradley Rodriguez Jr. was the father of your daughter's child?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
I'll sustain the objection as to what this person's opinion was is irrelevant for purposes of the trial.
Around August 15th or 16th of that year, you took your daughter to Bradley Rodriguez Jr.'s house to pick up the baby clothes, is that right?
Yes.
And you told law enforcement that Mr. Burke actually was also abusive with your daughter, right?
Objection. Hearsay.
Hold on a second.
I'll rephrase the question.
Okay, if you were to rephrase it.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Burke was violent with your daughter, correct?
I think he was.
Had your daughter just started speaking with another gentleman who went by the nickname of Casino, but his real name was Jared Christie?
That was her friend, yes.
I don't have any further questions.
Direct from the state.
No regret.
All right, thank you. Now you may step down from the witness stand. And the state's next witness or item of evidence.
Yes, sir. The People's State of Florida call Dr. Linda O'Neill.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Over this video.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you state your name for the record and spell your last name, please?
Linda Rush O'Neill, O''Neil.
Okay. And Miss O'Neill, what did you do for a living back on August 23rd of 2018, 25th of 2018?
I was an associate medical examiner for District 19 Medical Examiner's Office in the state of Florida.
Okay. Can you give the jury a thumbnail sketch of your education, your training, and your experience, please?
I graduated from the University of Memphis in 1987 with a Bachelor's of Science degree. Following that, I attended East Tennessee State University Quillen College of Medicine, where I graduated with a medical degree in 1992. After that, I did a 5-year residency program, which I completed in St. Louis at St. Louis University Hospital in St. Louis. After that, I did a 1-year fellowship training in forensic pathology at the Broward County Medical Examiner's Office in Broward County, Florida.
Okay. And are you licensed to practice medicine in the state of Florida?
I am.
Okay. And I want to talk specifically about your career track. And you just mentioned Broward County. So can you go ahead and elaborate on that for the jury? What did you do in Broward County?
I joined there. I did my fellowship training there. And then I joined as an associate medical examiner there in January of 1999. I continued to work for the Broward County Medical Examiner's Office until 2004, and then I became an associate medical examiner for the West Palm Beach County Medical Examiner's Office, and I was there until May of 2009, which at that time I joined the District 19 Medical Examiner's Office, and I was there until I retired in 2020.
Okay. And go ahead and just give the jury a general description of what a medical examiner does on a day-to-day basis.
Basically, in the state of Florida, a medical examiner is investigating certain deaths that fall under their jurisdiction. Most of them, of which we do autopsy examinations on, and the autopsy examinations are done to determine cause and manner of death. Okay.
And go ahead and describe what an autopsy is. Give the jury an overview about what an autopsy is. What an autopsy is. I'm sorry.
Basically, an autopsy is an examination of a deceased person. It's an external examination of the body and an internal examination of the body. The external examination of the body is not only just the characteristics of the body, female, male, height, weight, also whatever's on the body, be clothing or anything else that you would find on the body. Evidence would be collected from the body. Then there would be documentation of injuries or any kind of other kind of abnormalities on the external part of the body. Photographs would be taken during all these parts of the autopsy examination. Sometimes x-rays are taken prior to the internal examination, and then an internal examination is done in which the chest cavity is open, the abdominal cavity is open, the cranial cavity is open, and all the organs inside those cavities are taken out and examined.
Okay. And approximately how many autopsies have you performed in your entire career?
I don't remember the exact count, but when I retired, it was over 5,000.
Okay. And have you ever testified in circuit court regarding your findings from an autopsy?
I have.
Approximately how many times?
Over 100 times. I don't have an exact number.
Sure. And were you working on August 25th of 2018?
I was.
Okay. And what were you doing that day?
That day, on August 25th of 2018, I became involved with the case of Tania Wise and did an autopsy examination on her that morning.
Okay. And what materials did you review in order to form your opinions in this case?
You mean just recently or at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, obviously all the findings of the medical examiner's office, any information that would be given to me by law enforcement or their personnel, laboratory findings, because we do other things like toxicology analysis and microscopic examinations. We did x-ray examinations on her body, so all of those would have been involved in determining the cause and manner of death.
Okay, thank you. And you mentioned a toxicology test.
Yes.
Was it? We'll start there. Was a toxicology test performed on Tania Wise?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and first explain what the toxicology test is and what it's testing for.
During the autopsy examination, we take blood and other body fluids. Those are sent to a laboratory that does the toxicology testing. They test for, they do drug screen and alcohol screen, testing for the presence of those in the body, and that was done in this case.
Okay. And what were the results?
The results in this case, I took heart blood from her body, and the heart blood showed a level of 0.017 grams per deciliter of ethanol. Also, at the time of the autopsy, I took vitreous fluid, which is fluid from the eye, and that was tested and showed no ethanol present in that specimen.
Okay. And ethanol is alcohol?
Correct.
Okay. So can you go ahead and explain to the jury why that number for ethanol is important to them?
Yes. In this case, there was some decomposition occurring, and ethanol can be created by bacteria that is in the body and is affecting the body after when decomposition starts. It can create ethanol in the body. So her level was so small that in all likelihood, in my opinion, it's from the decomposition, because the vitreous fluid in the eye, there's none present. And also, on this particular autopsy, there was a collection of blood in the cranial cavity called subdural hemorrhage, which would be unlikely as affected by bacterial decomposition than the heart blood would be. And it showed no evidence of ethanol either. So none in the vitreous fluid, none in the ocular fluid, and just a small amount in the heart blood fluid.
Okay. Is that more consistent with decomposition and inconsistent with ingesting alcohol, like beer, wine, etc.?
Yes.
Okay. And did you, I think you mentioned it earlier, but as part of your autopsy, do you take photos to document the injuries and the other important aspects of the autopsy?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibits number 118 through 143. If you could take a look at those for me for a second.
What were those numbers, Mr. Richard?
118 to 143.
These are all photographs from the autopsy examination.
Okay. And those exhibits right there, 118 through 143, are those fair and accurate depictions of the autopsy that you performed on Tania Wise and her baby Josiah?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, the state moves into evidence 118 to 143.
Any objection?
No objection.
Those items will come into evidence without objection.
And permission to publish.
You may.
Okay. So here we're looking at exhibit number 118. Go ahead and just briefly describe what we're looking at here, Dr. Emil.
This is an initial photograph. This is how she was at the medical examiner's office before we started any of the examination. So it's an initial photograph showing her at the medical examiner's office.
Okay. And is it part of your process for every autopsy to take photographs like this where the victim comes in or the body comes in and you take initial photographs without unclothing them first?
Yes.
Okay. And let's advance to exhibit number 119. And same question, what are we looking at here?
This is an identification photograph. This is taken after the body is cleaned so we can get a good picture of the face for identification.
Okay. And I first noticed there's some red marks on her face and shoulders and chest and arms. Can you explain to the jury what that is?
One of the things that happens after we die is the postmortem settling of the blood, which is called livor mortis or lividity. When we die, our blood stops moving in our body, and it will settle to the dependent area by gravity. So if you're on your back, it can settle on the back. If you're lying face down, it can settle on the front of the body. And for a period of time, that can move. Like for a period of time, if someone was on their face and moved over to their back, the lividity can move to the back, and vice versa, or in any other way that gravity is affecting the body. But after a certain amount of time, that lividity becomes fixed, which means that it's not going to move when the body moves. So it's fixed in the position of the dependent gravity in a body position.
Okay. And if we could advance to exhibit number 120, please. Okay. So here we are looking at exhibit number 120. What exactly do you see here, doctor, that's important to you?
This is a photograph of a wound on the top of the head. It's on the top of the head, but the posterior aspect, so the top back of the head. You can see there, through the head hair, you can see that there is a large wound that's visible.
Okay. And exhibit number 121, please.
Again, that's a close-up showing that this is a gaping wound, and it's a full thickness gaping wound, because even now, even with head hair there, you can see at the bottom of that photograph skull, you can see visible skull through the margins of the wound.
Okay. And exhibit number 122, please.
This is that same wound.
123.
This is after the head hair around it has been shaved, so you can get a better look at the margins of the wound and the tissue involving the wound, and then again you can see the skull through the base of that laceration.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, we're looking at exhibit 122 here. Okay, so tell us about this wound, doctor. Can you go into more detail about that wound? First of all, what do you believe caused it, and what were the consequences from it?
Well, this type of wound is a blunt trauma injury, meaning that it's a forceful blow to the body. Blunt trauma injuries include bruises or contusions. It includes abrasions, scraping of skin. It includes lacerations, which is kind of a crush and tear injury of the skin. And fractures are also common blunt trauma injuries. In this case, this wound is a full thickness laceration or blunt force trauma. And there is fracture of the skull too underlying this. So this is a full thickness laceration, full thickness blunt force injury, which would have been a very forceful blow with some type of heavy object. I can't say specifically what that object was.
Is this something that could have been caused by human hands, or does it require something heavier and more substantial?
I cannot think of a way that this could have been caused by a human hand.
Okay. So when you say a heavy object, can you elaborate on that?
Objection, Judge calls for speculation.
Overrule the speculation objection so long as it's within your ability as a doctor to describe it with some specificity.
Heavy object being something not lightweight, something with some weight to it, and it would be used forcefully to cause this injury.
Okay. Would it have had to have had a sharp edge to it at some point?
This is a blunt force injury, so blunt force injuries wouldn't necessarily be caused by anything sharp. There's no sharp margin of the wound. When you think of a laceration is kind of a tearing, a crushing, tearing injury. Like if you had a piece of material and you tore it and you have those little bridging fibers between it, that's kind of what happens with a laceration that you can see in that photograph. A sharp force injury is going to have smoother margins, like if you had that same material and you cut it with scissors, and it would be nice and smooth on each side. So this is a blunt force injury.
Okay.
If we could advance to the next slide, which is exhibit 123.
123? What are we looking at here?
This is the same wound. In the previous photographs, it's gaping open. So we try to reapproximate the margins to see if we can get any other identifying features. Not necessarily to determine right from the picture what it was, but if we have something that we could compare it to later, it might help, in that comparison.
In exhibit 124.
That is the same wound, reapproximated with the margins pushed together. You can see there's some perpendicular lacerations extending from the margins of the wound.
Okay. And how long was this wound?
The wound was 9 centimeters in length, which is approximately 3.5 inches.
Okay. And go ahead and describe the consequences of this wound. What conditions did you see? What flowed from that?
Well, on the internal examination, when the skin is removed from the scalp, there's a skull fracture that's visible. And then when the top of the cranium is taken off, when we look at the brain inside, there's actual bruising of the brain. There's subarachnoid hemorrhage of the brain, which is the thin layer that covers the brain itself. And then the dura, which is a thicker membrane around the brain, there was subdural hemorrhage or hemorrhage underneath that dura. So it not only affected the skin and the skull, it also affected the brain.
Okay. And when you say subdural hemorrhage, what exactly does that mean?
That means that there's collection of blood, that there was bleeding inside the cranial cavity that collected in the subdural space.
Okay. And you also used a word that I have the same question for, subarachnoid hemorrhage. What is that?
The arachnoid layer is a very thin, translucent tissue that covers the external part of the brain. And so it would be hemorrhage underneath that layer.
And you indicated that there was a skull fracture present as well?
Correct.
Okay, can you describe that for the jury?
The skull fracture starts at the point where you see this laceration, and it curves around to the left side of the skull, the left parietal and frontal region of the skull. So it's a linear fracture extending from the point of the blow.
And is there also cerebral edema?
Yes.
Present? Can you explain to the jury what that is?
When the brain undergoes trauma like this, one of the things that quickly happens is the brain swells because of the injury. So cerebral edema is swelling of the brain.
Doctor, O'Neill, can you, based on your training and experience, can you describe for the jury, as best you can, how much force was used to cause the injuries to Miss Wise's head that we've seen thus far?
What I could say is it's extreme force. It's one forceful blow with an instrument that would be heavy enough to create that wound.
Okay. Is the wound that you've just described and the pictures that correspond to it, would that have automatically rendered Miss Wise unconscious, or could she have maintained at least some measure of consciousness after receiving that blow?
It may or may not have rendered her immediately unconscious.
Okay. And I want you to set aside the other injuries and just focus on this injury, okay? If we set aside those injuries, is this head wound, is this head injury sufficient by itself to cause death, assuming that there's no immediate medical attention that Miss Wise could have received?
Yes, this one could have caused death.
Okay. Now, as we're sitting here, you've just described the injury, we've seen the photos. Let me ask you this. Did Miss Wise feel a high degree of pain as a result of this injury?
Objection, calls for speculation.
And what do you think approach?
And then let's proceed to the next exhibit. What number is it? Okay. We're looking at 125, I'm sorry. Go ahead and describe this for the jury.
This is a photograph of the same injury. The skull is present at the base.
Okay. And 126? What are we looking at here?
This is a photograph of the skull after the scalp has been removed. During the autopsy examination, we make an incision across the top of the scalp and reflect it forward and reflect it backward. So this injury, that you can see the skull is visible, the entire skull is visible. And you can see that linear, there's a line that's going in the picture, it's horizontal just above where the ruler is, and that's the fracture. The point of impact being on the right side of that, and then that linear fracture extending across that photograph.
Okay. And the next exhibit? Which is what? We're looking at 127 here. Go ahead and explain what we're looking at here.
Again, that is the fracture, linear fracture. The top of the head is actually just above the ruler there. The top of the head is towards the right. So that would have been underlying that point of impact. And then you see the linear fracture. It gives you a little bit better location of how that fracture starts at the top posterior part of the head and then goes around the left side of the skull.
Okay. And 128, please. Okay. Again, what are we looking at?
This is a photograph of the brain after the skull cap has been removed. You can see there's darker red regions of the brain, and then there's more pink or lighter regions of the brain. The darker red regions are where there is hemorrhage and contusion of the brain. And that would be, there's a little thin translucent membrane. That's the subarachnoid membrane that we were talking about, and you can see that there's hemorrhage underneath that.
And the next exhibit, which is 129. Okay, so let's transition from the head injury to other injuries of the body. What were the locations on the body that you observed additional injuries?
There was a large incised wound that extends from the front of the neck to the back of the neck. And then in this photograph, you see a smaller incised wound, which is on the left clavicular region of the body, so just near the left clavicle. That's an incised wound. That's a sharp wound. If you look at the margins of that wound, you see they're nice and smooth. So it's caused by something that's sharp.
I believe we're looking at 129 here. And go ahead and I believe you said this was on the clavicle?
In the clavicular region of, yes.
Okay. And how deep and long was this wound?
This one was 2 centimeters in length and 0.5 centimeters in depth. To give you a comparison, 2.54 inches is related to a centimeter. So, I mean, 2.54 inches. I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And we'll move on to Exhibit 130. What are we looking at here?
This is the incised wound of the neck. This wound starts in the front of the neck and goes around to the right side of the neck and to the right back of the neck. This is the incised wound at the anterior margin, and it's really bifurcated. Right here, you're seeing one margin of that wound. If we go to another photograph, I think you'll see that there's more than.
Yes, ma'am. We'll go to 131.
Right. So this is the wound margin when the head is tilted back, and you can see that there are 2 distinct lines, a V-shaped bifurcation of the anterior part of the neck where this incised wound starts at the front of the neck. You can see it goes full thickness through the skin, and then it goes around the side of the neck to the back of the neck. In this case, there are 2 wound tracts that merge. So there's 2 incised wounds that merge into one wound tract.
Meaning that there were 2 wounds, not one. This is not one continuous wound. This is 2.
2, yes.
Okay. And can you explain and describe for the jury how long each wound was, as well as the depth?
Yes. I believe I said it backwards before. So an inch is 2.54 centimeters. To give you, I think I said it backwards last time. But this wound in centimeters was 19 centimeters in length. And in inches, that would be 7.5 inches in length.
Okay. And the depth?
The depth of the wound ranged from in the deepest part of that wound, it went to 1 1/2 inches, and in other areas is 1 1/4 inches in depth.
Okay. At any point along that wound, did it approach or even touch the neck bone or any bone in the neck?
At its deepest margin on the lateral neck, you could see the cervical vertebrae at the base of the wound, yes.
And describe the amount of force that would have had to have been used to create those wounds that we're seeing here in Exhibit 131.
This would have been caused with a sharp force instrument. So it's a cutting, incised, sharp force injury. So depending on the wound and how sharp it was, it would depend on the force.
You mean the instrument? You said the wound and how sharp it was. You mean the instrument?
The instrument would have a sharp edge, yes.
Okay. So go ahead.
Yeah, so depending on the instrument and the sharpness of the instrument, that would depend on how much force it would take to create these injuries.
Okay. And what is the directionality of these incised wounds?
These wounds start on the front of the neck and end on the posterior part of the neck.
Okay. So front to back.
Front to back.
And if we could advance to the next slide. Okay, now we're looking at Exhibit 132. Go ahead and describe this for the jury.
So this is on the right side of the neck. This is where those 2 incised wounds have merged together and have created one larger incised wound. And you're looking at that wound gaping open on the right side of the neck.
Okay. And the next exhibit? 133.
Again, that's the incised wound. You can see the bifurcation on the anterior neck. And then on the right side of the neck, you can see that there is depth to this wound. You can see where it's gaping open. Those are the regions where it went the deepest on the right side of the neck.
And Exhibit 134?
This is showing the wound approaching towards the back of the neck. So this is the right side of the neck, and the wound continues to the posterior right neck.
Okay. And Exhibit 135? What are we looking at?
Because there's an inside wound of the neck, we want to see what things were damaged by that. There's obviously skin, soft tissue, and some muscular damage because of the sharp force trauma. But also we're looking at the vessels, what vessels would have been affected in the neck. In this photograph, you can see the forceps is holding up. This is the external right jugular vein that's completely transected. You can see the hole underneath the forceps, where the forceps holding it open. That's the jugular vein incised open.
Okay, and just a little bit more detail, what is the purpose, or what does the jugular vein do?
The external jugular vein, it drains blood from our scalp and face. It's draining it from our head in those regions and taking it back to the heart.
Okay, and and we're seeing here that the external jugular vein has been cut or severed, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you describe for the jury the amount of loss of blood that would have resulted from this wound?
Well, this wound, there would be quite a bit of blood lost from this wound, and this blood loss from this wound could cause death in and of itself if it's not medically treated.
Okay. And the next slide. 136 we're looking at here?
That's a close-up of that external jugular vein. You can see it better in this photograph. The opening there is the external jugular vein incised open.
Okay. And Exhibit 137.
And this is the posterior neck. So you can see that this incised wound goes all the way around from the front of the neck, the right side of the neck, to the back of the neck.
And I want to return to the head injury for a second. Okay. As you know from the materials, the victim was found in near some vomit. Can you describe to the jury what would have caused the vomit?
Well, nausea and vomiting is not uncommon with head wounds and head trauma. So in this instance, that type of head injury could induce vomiting.
Okay. Is there a relationship between the victim vomiting and the loss of consciousness or the ability to stay conscious?
No.
And did you observe?
Could you re-ask and clarify that question and answer? I'm not sure I understood.
Okay. With respect to the vomit, okay, when somebody vomits, does that mean that, can someone vomit in a state of unconsciousness?
Yes.
Okay. And did you observe any defensive wounds on Miss Wise's body?
I did not.
Okay. And based on the materials that you've read and your overall understanding of the case, based on your examination and your photographs and everything that you've described, can you tell the jury what can you tell the jury about the time of death in this case?
Time of death is it's a very difficult thing to determine. There are factors that we look at to see if we can narrow down a time frame. Basically, when we're looking at time of death, in a case like this where a body is found outside, we start with the window that's the easiest, which is when do we know they were last alive, when can we verify they were alive, and then when were they found. So that's the time frame we start with. As far as I recall, I believe she was last known to be alive around 8 o'clock the night prior. And then she's seen by a passerby close to 11 o'clock in the morning the next day. So that's our time frame window. And then we look at other factors of the body to see if we can make any determination of anything that we can narrow that down. One of the things that we look at is the stiffening of the body. Stiffening or rigidity or rigor mortis is when the body, after someone dies, because of reactions that are happening in the muscle fibers of the body is first flaccid, then it becomes stiff, fully stiff for a certain period of time, and then that stiffness goes away. Typically, and under normal circumstances, that rigidity, it would take approximately 12 hours for it to become really full, so a person is really fully stiff. Then it would stay about 12 hours, and then after that, it would go away in 12 hours. So in about 36 hours, they've gone through the whole range. She was seen there at 10:53. Investigator from our office was at the scene around 1 o'clock and noted that there was full rigidity. So at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, on August the 24th, she was in full rigidity. Another thing that we look at when we're looking at the body is the lividity that we just discussed. The lividity is the pooling of the blood. The blood goes to where the lowest point that gravity is taking it, and it will stay there. And if it stays there and the body's not moved, it becomes fixed. In other words, even if we move the body after that, that lividity is not going to move. That usually takes somewhere between 8 and 12 hours. So in her case, at 1 o'clock, the investigator's there, she's moved, and her lividity is on the interior part of the body. So the next day, when I do the examination of the body, it's still on the anterior part of the body, which means it was fixed there. So at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, that was fixed. So if we look at those time frames, assuming that the rigidity is there at 1 o'clock and the lividity is fixed at 1 o'clock, it could be at least 12 hours from the time of her death, and it can be longer, up to 24, which we know it wasn't that long because we know that she was alive. So.
Before you continue on with your examination, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to take our mid-morning bathroom break for 10 minutes. Please remember, leave your notes on your chairs. Do not discuss the case with each other. Please proceed to the jury room. Feel free to use the restrooms, and we'll be with you in about 10 minutes. All right, jury has exited the courtroom. We'll take a 10-minute bathroom break, recess. We'll come back in 10 minutes. Go off the record.
All right, I can zoom, but first I'm just going to go through my notes. So, opening statements. I have to do it. If my wife finds out, I'm going to lose everything. This is coming from the state. I have a spot where I can dump her. I have Clorox and cleaning supplies. So this is what the state is saying, that Mr. Soto-Escalera there he was a Waste Pro. He worked for Waste Pro. He drove a garbage truck, or he worked on one with his nephew. So apparently he was talking with his nephew about this. Even though they talked in Spanish, trying to figure out where to leave Tania and how he was going to knock her off. He says he can't let his wife find out. So she was 38 weeks pregnant. He talks about saying, do you think I should choke her or do a big blow? She's not the kind of person that people will look for. Although then he goes on to say, but he makes a mistake. So part of the plan was to lure her out of the house. So the 23rd is the night. But then August 24th, Christine Gabin is driving on Russo Road. And that's the route that Jose's garbage truck takes. Christine sees what she thinks is trash in the ditch, but it's not. It's actually Tania. She calls 911. Law enforcement heads out. Tanya's face down. She's wet. She's damp. Loose hairs around her face. They turn her over. They see injuries to her head and to her neck. They go on to say that Jose talked to his nephew saying, even though I had gloves on, I washed them. Nephew asked if there was a lot of blood. He says, yes, lots. There were 2 major injuries struck to on the top of her head, so much so that it fractures her skull. 19-centimeter cut along her neck, and goes from front to back. And it's so deep that it goes to her spine. Then the state in their opening says the witness saw his truck the night of. Jose comes into law enforcement with that same truck, says it wasn't his, even though there's a 99.9% match to the child. Then the defense opening comes, and she spoke for like 5 minutes, if that. She says Tania was a dancer and an escort, and that brought her into contact with a lot of unsavory people. She says the state collected DNA from her pimp and other men, including her nephew. Tania told others that they were the father. First witness is Kristen Gabin. She's the one that found Tania's body. She was going to see her granddaughter. She was driving. She saw what looked like trash on Russo Road. She turned around and went back, saw it was a body, called 911. This was around 10:50 a.m. Law enforcement arrives about 4 minutes later. Then Deputy Josh Gilkey comes up. He's a first responder. And he, he was a patrol deputy that day. Hold on. He was a patrol deputy that day. He arrived, he saw the caller in a black car. He was informed about a deceased body about 50 feet away down the road. He goes up, saw a female body, and she appeared to be deceased, to which he calls it in as an active crime scene. And again, very quick. These testimonies are fast. Next up is William Mullen. He saw that truck that night. He owns a pizza place, so he uses Russo as a cut-through. The night of, he was using Russo as a cut-through, and he saw a truck sitting there around 11:30. It was dark, and he saw the lights pop on. It was about 150 yards away. He said he thought it was suspicious because the fog lights came on. He said it was a silver or gray truck. It was clean, had shiny chrome on the rims, dark tinted windows. So he decided he thought it was suspicious because he saw the fog lights pop on. He says it wasn't normal headlights, it was these fog lights. Truck started creeping toward him, passes him, hits the stop sign, takes a right, which would have been north. Let's see. Then he went home like normal. But because this was his normal route, the next day he's cruising by and he sees sees law enforcement vehicles, and he sees a tent pretty much where the truck was. So he stopped and he talked to the detectives. Next up is Elizabeth Bedoya. I think Bedoya. 2 L's, yeah, Bedoya. She's the mother of Tania. Tania was 23 years old. She has an 8-year-old son. She was 8.5 months pregnant. They were going to name him Josiah Thomas. Then they talk about Bradley Rodriguez. Paid for Tania's phone. So the last time she saw Tania was at 8 p.m. Tania was going out for drinks to get drinks for her son for school. She said it was a little bit after 8. Tania had a date for a C-section, to schedule a C-section. So she had an appointment to schedule the C-section the next week. Then on cross, she was aware that Bradley dated Tania. He lived with them. She kicked him out because she didn't like the way he treated Tania. Then they talk about Mark Burke, dated but separated, remained friends. Tania had mentioned that Rodriguez had threatened Tania. She took Tania to Bradley to pick up baby clothes, and then there's a Jared Christie is mentioned. And now we're listening to the medical examiner, and she is describing the wounds. The amount of ethanol in her body was 0.17, which basically she said was from decomposition. It was not from drinking alcohol. She says there was a blunt force trauma injury to her head, which was about 3.5 inches. It's pretty big, it's going to be pretty big. She talks about there was a smaller one by her left clavicle, about 2 centimeters, and then there was one basically her neck, 7.5 inches. So that's pretty much all the way through. So, and it was so deep that you could see her spine. So she says the time frame was from 8 the night before to 11 o'clock the next morning. So, all right, 0.017. Yes, 0.017 is, they think that was more for, it was more from, the level was so small it was from decomposition and not from drinking. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to zoom here.
Able to take the blood side.
All right, and you may continue with the witness.
One final question regarding this neck wound.
At the autopsy examination, we do collect a blood standard DNA sample.
Okay, and what is the purpose of that?
It could be for anything, for comparison with other DNA, for comparison with evidence, for anything that might come up in the future.
Okay, so if investigators find a blood spot and they don't know the identity, would they be able to take the blood standard and then compare it to see if there's a match?
Correct.
Okay, I'm going to show you what has been marked as states number 144. Do you recognize this? And you can open it up if you need to.
This is an envelope that contains post-mortem evidence collection, Tania Wise, her autopsy number, and the date of the autopsy examination are on the envelope, and my initials are signed on this. So this would have been collected at the time of the autopsy.
Okay, and is that the blood standard of Tania Wise?
I can't see inside the envelope, but this would be an envelope that would be in. This is a DNA standard envelope.
Okay, is the packaging consistent with that being a blood standard of Tania Wise?
Yes.
Okay, and are your initials actually on that?
Yes.
Okay. Does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition that it was in when it was collected on August 25th of 2018?
There are other initials and other tape on here that have been added since I did this.
Sure.
So it's been to other places, but the envelope, yes, is in the same type of condition, yes.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Your Honor, the state moves into evidence exhibit number 144.
Any objection? No objection. We'll bring it to evidence without objection.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, doctor, now I want to turn your attention to the baby, Josiah Wise. And I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 138 for identification purposes. What are we looking at here?
During the autopsy examination, as we open body cavities, we take photographs of things that are, any findings, internal findings. This is the abdominal cavity of Tania Wise opened, and that large object you see there is the uterus, the womb, and it is extremely enlarged because of a pregnancy.
Okay. And turn your attention now, and we'll move ahead to Exhibit 139. What is that?
This is a photograph of the womb opened up. The head of inside this amniotic sac, you can see, which is still intact. There's a fetus, a near full-term fetus. The head of the fetus is toward the birth canal, the vaginal canal, so it would be in a head-first type of positioning, and it's a near full-term fetus.
Okay, so it was head first into the womb. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. In Exhibit number 140.
This is the baby after I've incised the amniotic sac and I'm removing the baby from the body. You can see that this is the same position it was in. Full-term child with no abnormalities noted. Full-term fetus with near full-term fetus with no abnormalities noted.
Okay. And Exhibit number 141.
This is the fetus, Josiah Wise, on the examination table. You can see that anatomically is well-formed male fetus. All the weights and measurements are consistent with the estimated gestational age of 38 weeks.
Okay. Exhibit number 142.
And this is the back showing there's no abnormalities, nothing abnormal about the development of this fetus.
Okay. And finally, the last exhibit is 143.
Again, this is examination of the fetus showing that it's well-formed, all extremities are well-formed, hands, feet, fingers, and toes are all well-formed, head and face are well-formed.
Did you weigh the baby and measure the baby?
Yes.
Okay. Can you describe your results?
The weight was 5.22 pounds, and the measurement was 20 inches in length.
Okay. And I believe you said that there were no abnormalities. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Based on your autopsy as well as your review of Ms. Wise's medical records, is there any indication that this was anything other than a healthy baby boy?
No.
Okay. This was a healthy baby boy?
Yes.
Okay. Did the baby live after Ms. Wise died, or did they die at the same time? Can you provide some detail on that issue?
At this gestational age, that infant, any infant or fetus inside the womb is dependent on the mother's blood flow for nutrients and oxygen. When the mother has died, that blood flow stops. So the infant doesn't die instantaneously, but as it's depleted from oxygen and blood flow, it would die after she died in a matter of minutes.
Okay. And what was the baby's cause of death?
Well, this was an intrauterine fetal demise, and it was an intrauterine fetal demise due to the maternal death due to blunt and sharp force trauma.
Okay. And final few questions. Based on your training and experience, could the head injury to Tania Wise have occurred before the neck injury?
It could have, yes.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Thank you very much.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Judge. Just very briefly. Ma'am, you said that you reviewed Ms. Wise's medical records.
Yes, I was given medical records to look at.
Okay, and did that include her records from her OBGYN?
There were some OBGYN records, yes.
Okay, and you were aware then at the date of her last appointment with her OBGYN on August 13th of 2018 that they estimated that the fetus was 31 weeks gestation. Is that correct?
I don't recall that from them.
Would it refresh your recollection if I showed you her OBGYN's records from that date?
Okay.
Permission to approach the witness, Judge? Thank you, Judge. You'll see the date right there.
Yes,
And then the
August 13th.
highlighted portion right there.
Gestational age. It does say 31 weeks.
Okay, so on Ms. Wise's visit to her OBGYN who had been monitoring her pregnancy the entire time, on August 13th of 2018, her OBGYN noted that the baby's gestational age was 31 weeks. Is that correct?
According to those medical records, that's what they put in their medical records, yes.
Okay, and that was her OBGYN for the entirety of her pregnancy, correct?
I don't recall, but possibly yes.
Okay, would you like to see all of his medical records?
No, thank you.
Okay.
If that was her OBGYN, that was her OBGYN.
Okay, and also on that record that I just showed you, the estimated date of delivery for the fetus was October 15th of 2018. Is that correct?
I don't know if that's correct or not.
Would it refresh your recollection again if I showed you the OBGYN's records that you reviewed?
I don't know if I reviewed those specifically, but you can show them to me.
Sure,
yes.
permission to approach the witness. Thank you. It's right there in the circle part.
Yes, it just says, it does say 10/15/2018.
EDD, estimated date of delivery, correct?
That's correct.
And, ma'am, in your review of Ms. Wise's OBGYN's records, you learned that she had something called SVT.
Yes.
Okay, can you explain to the jury what SVT is?
SVT is supraventricular tachycardia, meaning that the heart can go into a rapid beat.
And it can be potentially fatal for the mother and the fetus, is that correct?
It's potentially fatal, yes.
Okay, and that's why Ms. Wise's pregnancy was actually a high-risk pregnancy.
That, along with, I think that she had had a previous C-section also.
And just one final question. I think that you said this when you were talking to the state, but there was no independent injury to the fetus, correct?
That's correct.
No further questions, Judge.
Any further questions from the state?
The difference in gestational age of the child, does that affect the cause of death for the child?
No.
No further questions.
And may Dr. O'Neill be released from her subpoena at this time?
Subject to recall, sir.
You may step down subject to recall from the attorneys. Please be sure to have a contact number for them to get in touch with you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our lunch break a little bit early now because the attorneys have some business to attend to outside of your presence to keep the case streamlined. And counsel, if we could get 12:45 suffice, we got done a little bit earlier than I thought. 12:45. So take your lunch break. Don't discuss the case with anyone. Don't do any research whatsoever. Please leave your notes there. Let's aim at 12:45 coming back into session. Thank you. Earlier about before we break, there was that issue that the state mentioned earlier about taking testimony outside the presence of the jury to establish the unavailability of Ms. Lim, I think it was. Lim?
Yes, sir.
Did you want to do that at 12:30, perhaps?
I don't know if I can get my witness here in time.
Okay.
I'll try to get her here as quickly as I can. I just don't know.
Well, it might be convenient, just to, since we got the timer. I don't know when you were planning on putting on her testimony.
Yeah, either today, we might be able to get to it tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll come back at 12:45 then.
Okay.
We're here. Enjoy your lunch. We'll see you at 12:45. Go off the record.
All right, let me recap, and then we're going to be done with the morning session because 7:30 here. I've been streaming since 8:30, so I've been going for 11 hours. So going to take the night. Going to call it a night after this. So after the break, they came back. The neck wound on its own would cause death if no immediate help had been rendered. They admitted a blood sample. Then they talked about baby Josiah. The uterus was large due to pregnancy. It was a near full-term fetus. The head was near the canal. Near full-term with no abnormalities. Weights and measurements were consistent with 38 weeks. 5.22 pounds, 28 inches was little baby. Would have died within a matter of minutes once mom passes away. Head injury could have occurred before the neck injury. So under cross, she was asked, did you review the medical records from the OBGYN? She said, yep. And the date of last appointment on August 13th, estimated 31 weeks. October 15th was the estimated date of delivery. And that she also had SVT, which was supra something or other tachycardia, which put her pregnancy at high risk. There were no injuries to the fetus. Thank you, Mallory. Thank you so much. Appreciate your $4.99 donation. Thank you so much. So well, we started at 8:30. Thank you, Pammy. We started at 8:30 with Sunny Bell, and then we wanted to pick up on this. So so tomorrow we're going to dual stream. Tomorrow we're going to continue with Sunny Bell's, they're going to do jury instructions starting at 8:30, and then we're going to be in verdict watch with Sunny Bell, and then we'll also be streaming this trial as well. So Soto-Escalera. So we'll do a dual stream tomorrow. So please join us. Join us at 8:30 tomorrow for Sunny Bell, and then Jose Soto-Escalera. We'll pick up on him as well. So we'll continue on with afternoon session of day one, and then by the end of tomorrow, we'll be finished with day two. So we'll be all caught up. So thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate you. Thank you to our mods. Tomorrow we're going to be dual streaming, so please be kind to our mods. I'll remind you guys as well tomorrow, but I know you guys are. You guys treat our mods great. And thank you to Aaron. Thank you to the kiddies for providing entertainment. I will try and show you. It's a little dark, but here's Super Ball. Here's Super Ball. Yeah, it's a good girl. Yeah, it's a good girl. Yeah. Sweet little Super Ball. So, all right, guys, with that, thank you for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow, 8:30 for Sunny Bell. And I'm not sure when this trial starts. I'll find out. But again, we're going to be dual streaming. So we will see you tomorrow, at least at 8:30. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us. Bye.